Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to the Rick Motec Sports Car Series here at Barber Motorsports Park. I'm Austin Knight. I am joined by Larry McLeod with Alex Simpson and Dennis Branch here on Apex Racing TV. Larry, how are you feeling about today?
Feeling good. It's going to be an interesting night with this really great mix of a couple of classes here to mix it up tonight. We've got our GT4s and our TCR cars mixing it up on what's going to be a very technical Barber Motorsports Park track. And mixing it up on multi-class racing is going to be for an interesting race sequence and series going on tonight.
Yeah, we got an hour ahead of us for this amazing series. We got the TCR field. It's continuing to grow. Registration is still open, by the way, for anyone wanting to get into this series, especially that very competitive TCR field. I've been talking to a lot of the drivers in front of there, and it's a very competitive car, no matter how much experience you actually have with it, and they're pretty open to helping you out if you're new to the car. So if you're interested in running in the sports car series, especially the TCR class, registration is still open for that.
And I'm excited to see tonight as we've had some very competitive races at the end of last season, and already with our first event at Sebring, a very competitive race there. And even in practice so far tonight, as we've got, you can see there in the championship standings, Eric Violet got that win in the opening round, just ahead of Brandon Whitworth and Andrew List. But tonight, joining the ranks, we've got John Allen, who we have seen in the Rick Motec series running in the Miatas. So he's going to jump over here into the TCR field and show and see if he can run the front drivers as well as he runs those lightweight, low-power rear drive cars. So it's great to see some more talent coming into this TCR field here tonight.
Yeah, as normal, we have our GT4s as well. Good mix of Porsche versus BMW. And this is where I would call a Porsche track more than a BMW track. But with these guys, they certainly can push as we take a look at last race results. There's only been one round. This is round 2. Elvis Rankin holds the top of that championship right now with 39 points. But here at Barber, it's a little bit of up and down. It's a little bit of roller coaster. I call it the roller coaster of the South. So let's go on for a track here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Welcome, everyone, to Barber Motorsports Park, located here in beautiful Birmingham, Alabama. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this 2.38-mile road course. Well, this place is like a roller coaster, and it is anything but flat. So strap in and hold on as we begin your track guide here at Barber Motorsports Park and head down towards Turn 1, a very fast entry and a very tricky one. It is a drop-off to the left here, right down into the center of the apex. Very careful not to track out too wide on exit as we set up our entry to turn 2, ultimately down into turn 3. We'll get some early rotation, get a good exit off of 3, and head up the hill through turn 4. This will take us to the hairpin here. Turn 5, heavy brake zone again, downhill once again, trying to get that car to slow down for these corners. Very difficult entries. Out of the hairpin now, up the hill through turn 6. This will take us down to what's known as the corkscrew. Down through the gears here, we'll set up a good straight entry right in here, down tight to the right to get that exit out of 9. Back up through the gears. We'll head now to turns 10 and 11. This is a little switchback, kind of an S curve here on the backstretch. Easy on the throttle and easy on the curbs. Very easy to get loose coming off of that corner. Down into 12 and 13 now. This is an interesting complex. Down to the left, back up to the right, roll off the brake, come back to throttle over the crest. Down now into 14, and then ultimately set up a wide entry into turn 15 to get that good launch up into 16, which brings us right back out onto the front straightaway. And that'll take you back down to that crazy turn 1 entry. There you go. There's your track guide for Barber Motorsports Park. Thank you so much for being with us.
And that is a lap around Barber Motorsports Park, a absolute glorious track to drive around. And speaking of driving around, it's a very difficult track to pass, as this is a very fun track to drive, but racing here is a completely different story. It's going to be lap after lap of pushing it to the limits and trying to force your opponent into making a mistake to give you that perfect opportunity. But you're going to have to be very consistent around this absolute landscaped filled sweeping turns all over the place, and that's the challenge of Barber.
Yeah, it really is. It's going to be qualifying is going to be super important around here, as we've seen in the practice times. The cream is rising to the top already. As we've seen in practice, Elvis Rankin, Mike Dam at the tops in GT4. We've got Andrew Liz, Eric Violet, the tops in the TCRs, and they're going to have to do everything they can to hang on to those spots when it comes to qualifying, because, as you mentioned, passing is going to be at a premium. So getting those front row starts here is absolutely critical. And as you also mentioned earlier, this place is kind of like the roller coaster of the South. This place is just going to be ups and downs, blind crests all over the place. The last thing you want to do is to start this race in rows 3, 4, 5, where you can't see anything but the bumper of the car in front of you, because there's just climbing these ups and downs of these hills, and you're just stuck with staring at someone else, and stuck in these traffic. You really want to have that best shot of being in the first row and set your own pace to go out. This is the kind of race I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of early pit stops as soon as that window opens for those guys that are in the middle of the pack, and to try and find some clean air and change their own race outcomes by themselves.
Yeah, and I certainly can guarantee some early tires and early pit stop strategies might be able to work. And if you're going to be wondering where those pit windows are, well, we're going to tell you right now. The GT4 pit window opens up at the end of lap 10, and the TCR pit window opens up about lap 10 as well. So lap 10 is when both fuel windows and both pit windows open up. But with the TCRs and GT4s, we saw a tire change win the race later on. So I feel like with both these cars, the longer you stay out, the more use we might see out of these new tires as qualifying has started. So tire saving is definitely not going to be a thing right now as drivers get underway in their qualifying laps.
Yeah, now it's a matter of get the heat into the tires and get yourself into that rhythm to try and get into your really good rhythm of these opening laps and qualify and get a good one in. And of course, we've seen in previous sessions, Elvis Rankin's one of them, will go out there and lay down one flyer, see if he likes the setup, come in real quick, call that quick tow, come in, maybe make a setup change, and go out one more time for that late flyer, as they have enough time to be able to do it on this relatively short laps here at Barber Motorsports Park. We'll see if anybody tries that.
I'm not sure who we were just looking at, but the previous car that we were watching, as we were currently looking at, John Allen making his return to the TCRs in that stealth black bomber Audi, I spotted a very unique, a very popular logo on one of the cars, on one of the splitters, and I kind of want to see that car again.
Was it an Apex Racing TV logo?
No,
okay.
It was a Texas Longhorn logo.
Oh, okay. Oh, that one. Oh, those are important.
Yes, they are.
All right, so get a good shot of Elvis Rankin here out on his out lap. Everyone's still trying to get some warp their tires, get an opening lap rhythm. And I usually my preference is to go out there, in a car like this, get into that rhythm in the opening lap. Probably not dink around too much with just trying to get heat into them. This is a very rhythmic track. There's a lot of rhythm around here to get into the sequence because everything seems to be connected. As an old autocrosser myself, I hate to use these analogies, but sometimes it's like an autocross where one corner is connected to the next. If you mess up one of these, you're going to mess up 2 and 3 others that are easily connected to them. I know it's a terrible analogy. Road racers hate it. Sim racers hate me using that one. But this track is really completely, that's really a place where that analogy comes in. This isn't Road America where it's one corner and then we've got a quarter-mile straightaway to the next one. This place is completely about connected twisties, one upon the next.
That analogy actually works extremely perfectly with this track because it is just like a roller coaster where one feature leads into the other and leads into another. And, that's why I call it the roller coaster of the South, because it drives just like a roller coaster. You have to connect each corner together to get the most out of this track. There are a few spots here where it's just like, why do they do that? Especially after Charlotte's Web, when they're going to that chicane that hard braking point, kind of hard brake point, one line into that chicane. If that was a little bit wider, that chicane wasn't there, this track be even more popular with people, but that drop down chicane heading into that hairpin right in front of the Barber Motorcycle Museum, and if you ever go to a real-life race here, that museum is just beautifully filled with classic motorcycles.
Oh, that's awesome. I have not made it down there myself, but one of these days I'm going to have to get down there and check out some real-live racing at this beautiful track. The facility I've heard is just a beautiful place.
Oh, top class. This is the car. Chris Thorman, you're awesome.
Yeah, well, you go ahead and you leave your ball sports out of this tonight. We're going to bring in ball sports. I'm just going to talk about my number 4 Michigan Wolverines basketball team. We'll just leave it at that. But we're not here to talk about ball sports. We're here to talk about things with 4 rubber tires going round and round at a high rate of speed. And right now, Chris Thorman's doing that.
Yeah, Thorman currently sitting in 5th place. Mike Dam sitting on top of the GT4s in a BMW, surprisingly.
It is a bit surprising, but, you know, sometimes the fast are fast regardless what they're driving. And as we heard from the guys after the first race, that we did testing back to back with the BMWs and the Porsche, they felt like overall the BMW was their preferred car. Even if potentially a track like this, maybe the Porsche might have an advantage, but sometimes a fast driver's fast regardless of what platform that they're driving. And, you know, had they been in Porsches, my guess is Mike Dam, and potentially Elvis, when he gets there, will be near the front regardless.
Yeah, but it's a BMW 123 right now, so it is completely surprising, but the way that these guys are driving these BMWs, they said it is a lot safer to drive. They enjoy it a lot more than the Porsche, with it just being a little bit finicky. So I feel like that's given them that opportunity to push that car just a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressively than they would with the Porsche, and that's just allowing them to eke out this gap of lap time. They're currently leading the Porsches by 4/10 from Hartley to Jacobs.
Yeah, I think that gap will come down just a little bit here before we get into their final laps, as everyone seems to be pretty much on their final lap right now. But we'll see how that goes. I think from practice, it was a couple of BMWs, and then a Porsche, and then a couple of BMWs kind of mixing it up. But the other thing will be is once this race gets going, I'm curious about tire wear. Who can go a little longer on that first stint before maybe the tires drop off? Will it be that Porsche, or will the BMW also treat its tires fairly?
Indeed, and just looking at our TCRs right now, Brandon Whitworth in D2D. They're going to have some challenge today with it not just being just them in the TCRs now. So that team championship, well, they always have a tire field of D2D drivers in the TCRs. But they're going to be very interesting to watch here today. As we got a good onboard shot of Russ Ruddick, and I believe that is Jeff Jacobs as well. As we have onboards in real life and TV coverage in the sim world. Jeff on the right side of the screen, and Russ in VR on the left side of the screen.
And Jeff Jacobs right at the moment is your fastest Porsche in the field. See if that holds up.
He's doing a lot of leaning driving.
Yeah.
To get a big turn.
Getting into it.
Yeah, I remember. Wow, he is really leaning. He's getting some angle right there.
Not happy
with that lap, though. I feel like that Porsche is just providing a little bit of understeer to just entice that angle of lean.
And as they're finishing their final laps, I'm seeing Mike Dam doing that 28.7. And that right now looks like it's enough to stay ahead of Elvis Rankin's 28.8. And Elvis does have his 4 laps in the books. Robert Hartley's got his 4 in as well. It's 29.3. So I don't see a lot of opportunities to be able to best a 28.7 out there right now.
Yeah, Chris Sabo currently coming across the line, giving that TCR a bit of a smoke show right in front of the crowd on that giant banked amphitheater heading into turn 2. That sector of track right there, right after turn 1, is a very hot spot for mistakes, as
It's Eric Violet there.
Tony Kernan just jumped up into third.
He was quick in practice, so it shouldn't surprise anybody to see him up there.
That is a timing tower
Mm-hmm.
glitch, by the way. He's not first in his own class. He's not driving just his own thing. He's a Porsche driver, so it's technically third. I think we can get that fixed on the fly.
Yeah. He's in a world of his own, sort of.
I think he would wish to be in his world of his own. Everyone wants to just be racing and have no challenge. Well, some people here. I know a few people enjoy a challenge, but
good solid lap though to go out there and put yourself up in the second row there on.
Yeah,
and he actually still has another. He's only on his third lap now, so he's a bit of a late starter here in the qualifying.
There we go.
But looking down at TCR right now, Andrew List is on the front of that field at the moment with his 4 laps in the books. Brandon Whitworth currently with his 4 laps also in. He's on the outside of front row. Eric Violet's on his last lap right now. John Allen, though, I think just finished with his 4 laps now in the books. A little slower, a little off the pace from what he had done in practice, but those 4 are all pretty close. Then it's Scott Brooks, Chris Sabo, and Eduardo Cabell. So we're still kind of keeping an eye on Hernan on his last lap. Now,
yeah, Eric Violet, he's putting in a good time right now. He's about to finish his lap and coming around the final corner and down that straight. He's been setting purple sector times in 2, 3, and 4. Violet across the line. He takes pole.
There you go. On his last lap of qualifying. Leapfrogs all of them, but it's going to be tight right up to the end. But as we mentioned, getting to be in the front, even in the smaller field of TCR, still does matter. I do suspect we'll see some jostling around in that group, but he'll be the first one to see that green flag.
Eduardo, he's on his final lap as well, coming into the final sector of quarters, which that final corner, the second corner, before the last one, is very tricky because you have to go extremely wide out there to connect it. And it's very easy for somebody to just sneak their nose up in there as Eduardo goes into 6th place.
Here's Kernan now on his last flyer. Really one of the only ones right now near the front of the field with a chance to do any more movements. Currently 3rd. He's going to have to get down to the 28s, though. He's got to pick up about 3/10 if he's going to move up anywhere in this field. Does not look like it's going to happen.
Yeah, as the session ends out right there, or actually, no, the session is continuing to go on as we get live pictures back for us. Kevin Ford still on track. Few more minutes remaining here in qualifying.
May as well use a little bit of extra practice.
As Kevin goes through that drop down, then up over this crest. And this crest, you have no grip at all. It's so loose right here. I've seen it just get incredibly loose no matter what you're racing. I remember with Skip Barber, they come here all the time. And when you go over that crest, it's always a minefield of cars just all over the place. And there's always seems to be a car turned around right there on the racing line. No matter where you're going, there's a car.
It's a challenging track for sure.
John Allen returning to the series. Stealth Black Bomber coming out of that final corner and across the line. Does he improve into the first row?
I think he's out of opportunities.
No, that was his last lap. He does improve on the lap time, but it does not improve him position-wise. Or he invalidated that lap and just set an identical lap time to his fastest one.
All right, so the good thing here is we've got nice clear blue skies here on this beautiful sunny afternoon. Probably not realistic weather. As close as they can get it, considering sim restrictions. Certainly not as beautiful and sunny as it is here in Southeast Michigan. A little nicer there in Alabama.
I gotta say, this is definitely a place to call Sweet Home Alabama. Had to do it.
Got Got to get it in.
And-
Get it in before the green flag. I appreciate that.
Well, just like the song says, where the skies are so blue, and they have some pretty good blue skies here.
Absolutely.
Until the rain comes in the update in the future.
What they say, but for right now, I think we're going to see is clear blue skies. And with that, qualifying is just about over, so it's going to look like our front row as John Allen brings it in. Get ready for the race. Check his fuel loads. And that should do it.
Yep, 30 seconds remain here in qualifying. Everybody's in the pits, so this is, well, everybody except for the race marshal's in the pits, as the race marshal hasn't come out and done a lap yet, but that will be qualifying here in beautiful South Alabama at Barber, and I gotta say, this track just looks amazing. The weather is amazing, and we are here for a amazing afternoon of racing here as qualifying is finished. So let's see our starting grid. Mike Dan takes pole ahead of Elvis Rankin, and it's a BMW lockout ahead of Tony Kernan, Robert Hartley, Mizair Azmi, Jeff Jacobs, Travis Schwenke, Randall McGrew, Chris Thorman, Kevin Ford, David Payton, and Steve Daniel in 12th place. Behind them, it's Bobby Childs, Jordy Fite, Raven Badair, Greg Mack, and Russ Ruddock at the end of the GT4 grid. And taking pole for our TCR class, it's Eric Violette ahead of Andrew List, Brandon Whitworth, John Allen making his return to the TCRs, followed by Scott Brooks, Eduardo Cabal, and Chris Sabo. And in a increasing entry for our TCR fields, these 7 TCRs going to be a bit of a challenge for our GT4s passing through them. And like he said, it's going to be a very tricky track to pass on.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
As the races are getting their race rundown debrief on this pace lap, I feel like most of them going to go single file, and when they get onto that back stretch before that, right after that chicane, that's when they're going to double up and get ready to go racing here, here in Barber. And I got to say, I've seen some funny incidents here on a pace lap, not by a race car, by actually the crew on this track, where a forklift driver hit a divot and flipped over.
Wow, that's a new one.
Which caused the entire race to be red flagged, and all the drivers looking up to the screen like, there wasn't even a race going on. Why do we have a red flag out? And when we just started hearing reports that a forklift driver hit the divot that was dug during practice, it brought out some good memes. A lot of laughter. I can't really say memes because this is back before memes were really a thing.
Did he replace his divot?
I'm not sure, because last time I was back out there, the divot was still there. And if you want to know where that divot is, it's on the apex of turn 2.
I'll make sure to avoid that next time I'm down there.
Thankfully, it's not on iRacing, but it was right here.
Yeah.
Where the pace car is right now, that's where that divot is. It is it was a big one.
All right, well, we've got our teammate BMWs on the front row with Mike Dam and Elvis Rankin, and that second row with Tony Kernan in the Porsche and Robert Hartley in another BMW. So Kernan in that Porsche could be the interesting one, kind of mixing it up in there to see if he's able to kind of mix it up and try to break up maybe the teammates out in front in the Orion cars, try to break them up and try to break up any kind of team strategy those guys might have at the start of this race.
And David, those BMWs are going to be very powerful heading into in this part of the track. The 2 longest straights on this track, these BMWs are definitely going to have that power to pull it ahead of those Porsches. But for out of this entire place, those Porsches are going to be on fire. But I feel like on the straights, those Porsches just a little bit lacking in that special pizzazz that are allowing these BMWs to just pull out this performance here.
They may, and I'm really kind of curious, though, how they are in different areas of the track, different sectors. Between whether it's going through, some of those real twisty through the trail braking sections, or is it just a point and shoot coming out? Obviously, passing is normally done from slowest corner to through the longest straightaway. But if you could somehow get a nose coming out of one of those, just get alongside one of these BMWs, if you're in the Porsche, it might be enough to make a pass stick. We'll see if it, in the case of Kernan, he just needs to make one of those stick and try and break up any strategies those teammates may have out in front. Otherwise, it could be a long day staring at the back of one of those really big BMWs.
Indeed, and those BMWs are very hard to see around, I must say. So if there's an incident, it's going to be a fairly tightly packed thing, as we got our GT4 class on the left and our TCR class on the right. They're coming around the carousel at the end. There are two carousels on this track, I must say. So you got the first carousel, then the last carousel. But pace cars into the pit lane. As they come around this corner, they have the ability to go green. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the second round of the Rickeltech Sports Car Series presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. And we are green with the green here in Barber.
There's the power of those BMWs down that front straight. You can see already, Kernan already losing out to Hartley, but he's going to try and stick his nose in and stay on that inside line. Out in front, though, on that outside, Elvis is able to hold that line through, too.
And
almost
look right
thinking he's
behind
got
him.
Go ahead.
Robert Hartley managed to sneak ahead of Tony Kernan, and getting into the grass goes Mike Dam. Elvis Rankin holds the lead now. And now we see Tony looking down to the inside, heading to Charlotte's Web, trying to set it into third place right there. He's got that inside line, but coming off the exit, he does get it. He's now ahead of Robert Hartley, and that battle for third definitely heating up.
Absolute send there for Kernan to get that spot back ahead of Hartley, but it almost seemed like to be on that outside row, as long as you can hold it to turn one, gave you that beautiful inside line through two, and both looked like Elvis Rankin and Hartley took advantage of that, as we've already got a car off on that inside and against the rail. I think that was Thorman.
Chris Thorman.
Oh, there goes your Texas Longhorns already into the rail on the first couple of corners.
Don't remind me of this. And also TCR has an incident as well. Chris Sabo getting loose with Eduardo coming out the Charlotte's Web, as the TCR field it stayed the same in position wise all the way through the field, but they are certainly nose to tail with each other, just like our GT4s.
And Hartley now is just all over the back of Kernan, as they've given up a little bit of a gap to Rankin and Dam out in front. Just a couple of car lengths, enough for the two, Rankin and Dam, to kind of break away just a bit. We'll see now if Kernan can try to close that gap and bring the rest of the field with him. As Mazda Emsey seems to be just right there with him as well.
Yeah, they're staying on there, and the TCRs are getting very wild as they're all the way off the track right now in that final corner. As Andrew List mowing the lawn right there.
But as we know, the TCRs, they'll keep going again. They'll all gather right back up, and they'll never quite get away from each other. That's how those TCRs tend to race.
Indeed, as we're looking at David Payton and Steve Daniel right now, nose to tail with each other, heading into the chicane. Steve getting a little bit loose. Here comes David down low off that exit. David Payton up in a 10th now. They're going to go side by side into the chicane. It's going to get very tricky right here. Smacking those curves. Just don't go out too wide, or else you might get into the grass. Bobby Childs was actually off in the grass in that corner right there, trying to mimic the TCRs.
No, great opportunity there. Just you see an opportunity like that, you've got to pounce. You can't wait. Track like this, you may not get many. When the car in front of you makes a mistake, you've got to take advantage and jump to that inside. It's exactly what he did there.
Indeed, as that earlier incident with the 10 and 53 of Eduardo and Chris and the TCRs, no action taken, a racing incident called. Tony Kernan falling away just a little bit from Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam. Those BMWs starting to stretch their legs now, and Tony needs to really power down and might start thinking about that early strategy pit stop. We were talking about lap 10. As let's take a look at this replay, and ooh, that is what happened to Chris Thorman. Thank you, Alex, for reminding me that incident happened.
Yeah, it's a little loose there on lap one, and unfortunately,
It's such
guardrail
a
comes
tight
up.
corner.
Yeah.
It's such a tight corner to get right. You're under braking, you're turning. If you hit that inside curb on that chicane, the going right, you bounce right over that. That just upsets the rear end. And if you get onto the throttle just a little bit too hard, around you will go. In the TCRs, it's a little bit easier because they're front-wheel drive, but in rear-wheel drive cars, it is a incredibly difficult corner.
All right, good shot of our TCRs.
Going through that corner right now. And we got a separation for them, as here is the replay of that lap 1 incident. Go looking down the inside of Charlotte's Web, and, well, they get onto the curb, and that was just a slight touch between them right there. One driver turning into the other, and that is definitely a racing incident.
Yeah, just side by side, good racing, and unfortunately, just a little bit of contact there. Nobody being a little bit too crazy. It just seemed like good side by side racing. It just didn't quite go perfect.
Yeah, speaking of side by side racing, Greg Mack and Bader were side by side for a little bit heading into the carousel. We got a car off right now. That's David Payton off on the other side. It's looking the wrong way around. He's actually going backwards.
David Payton not having the race that he was looking for.
Yeah, it looks like he was going backwards for a while, but glad he got right back forward before iRacing called him for disqualification for driving backwards, which I believe he can. I know our live race control can clear black flags, but to undisqualify a driver, I don't think they really could do that.
No, I think once you're disqualified, you're out. But he was able, looks like, to continue. Just got himself spun back around. But these guys are definitely still pulling their gap a little bit. And the top 4 have broken away a little also from the battle of 5th there between Azmi and Schwenke.
We got that replay here right now, and just a snap right there. That's that Porsche snap that we were talking about that drove most of the drivers away from the Porsche and into the BMW, and well, it is right there, pure evidence coming out of the carousel. Just a little bit of correction before that crest, and it just snapped over on him.
Yeah, and that's like exactly what you said when they talk about the BMW being a little easier to drive. Those are those moments that you're referring to. But when looking at how that the good car control skills and how hard it is to drive, but when done right, how rewarding it is. That pass that Randall McGrew just made on Jeff Jacobs as we were watching that replay on the other half of the screen there. Beautiful pass he was able to make stick to get around Jacobs there to take over 7th spot.
McGrew doing a great job right here as Bader. He's in a kind of tricky situation as we got to look down the inside from Bader. He's right behind Greg Mack as they're heading into that chicane. He goes a little bit wide right there, trying to get some speed off the exit. And Jordy Fikes right behind him, and they're looking very feisty right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight little battle here between these three. And they better watch themselves because they've got a Russ Ruddock there ready to pounce as well. And probably a less than happy Chris Thorman back there as well.
Yeah, and Bader getting onto the brakes. Jordy Fike has to get out of the way as they're all following Greg Mack. And we got a nice little BMW train right here in Alabama. Looking down the inside, Raymond Bader just filling the mirrors to Greg Mack some more.
But you see at the trail of this train, there's that Porsche. That's that Porsche we had seen. Chris Thorman had that first lap spin into the guardrail, and there he is.
He's still driving the heck out of that thing. I can say, even with the damage, he almost has a little bit of Porsche snap right there. He's still wheeling that car, and Thorman down the inside, he's got Russ Ruddock.
He's 2 seconds a lap faster than this battle right now, so he should be able to pick his way through this traffic. He's definitely muscling that lightly damaged car pretty quick around this track.
Yeah, that Porsche, even with the nose caved in like that, he's still got a lot of pace on these BMWs. I almost said TCRs. These things have quite the different size compared to the Porsches, so it's very easy to...
Yeah, no knock meant here on Bader, Mack, and Fike, but Thorman right now is driving as if he's pulling up a TCR, is the speed delta he's going. He's just flying.
Well, actually, in qualifying, some of the TCRs were a bit faster than the Porsches, than some of the GT4s. So, you know, that is not a dig at anyone. It's just showing you the speed of some of these TCR drivers.
Yeah. So they go around that right-hand sweep just to get that apex just right. Back down onto that front straightaway.
The final carousel, it's also where the pit entry is located off the exit, so it's just like a few instances. Down the inside goes Greg Mack. Actually, no, Jordy Fike went down the inside on Greg Mack to make that position work as they continue to race here. But coming out of that final that carousel, if you just go straight off the racing line, you actually go straight into pit lane. And it's a very tight pit lane as Chris Thorman sends it down low on Greg Mack as Jeff Jacobs is around.
Oh,
That was Jacobs on the apex.
Yeah, he's into that rail on that inside there.
Forced to snap oversteer once more. I don't even need to see a replay of that. I can just tell you that Porsche just over-rotated right there. But, you know, us being professionals, we do have a replay for you.
That's a couple times that we've seen with that pass Thorman just made there. A couple times we've seen the Porsches making good moves on that short straightaway going into 5 on these BMWs. So if you're driving a Porsche, that's a place. It looks like you may have a small advantage in that short straightaway.
Steve Daniel and Bobby Childs are battling out for 9th place right now. Man, we got our battle for the lead between the teammates Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam as we clear that 10-minute mark here in this 1-hour session.
Not quite to the pit window. We talked about that being around lap 10 as they're working lap 8 right now. So a couple more laps where we'll see that pit window open up.
But remember, a tire strategy.
Here's that replay of Jeff Jacobs.
The race in Sebring, so we might be seeing some more as
just
got onto the curb. And that Porsche is not a two-wheeled machine, so when you get a lot of the weight on one side of the car, it's just going to shut off that engine, turn on that traction control, stability control, and just send you packing.
The good news there for Jeff is it did not look like he actually got to the guardrail with that. He may have actually brought it to a stop before he got into the rail, so the car may not have suffered much damage. Other than track position and maybe a little bit of ego, he should be good to proceed.
Yeah, but definitely very good that Porsche does not have any damage on there as Raymond Bader is lead out Jordy Fike and Chris Thorman. And Thorman, I can tell you, is a little bit more safer in this chicane area after smacking the guardrail hard.
Although I'll tell you, Thorman's showing that even a damage on a Porsche can still be fast.
Indeed, and this track is just made for Porsches, I must say.
He's making his way through this track pretty quick, but I'll tell you that Jordy Fike right now is not making it easy for him to get on by. But as we take a look back here, this great battle of Cabal trying to get by Brooks here in these GCRs.
Cabal's hitting those curbs hard. He's got some damage on the left side of his car, and there's some damage on the right side of his car as he hops over that curb again.
It's from that earlier incident, correct?
No, he's hit the curb, and if you hit the curb in one of these in a TCR, you get some floor damage. And the scrape damage model here on iRacing, if you run over a curb, it will give you that very bit of swiping damage. So it's a little bit of a misleading damage model from side-to-side impact. But if you hit the curb, you will get some damage. As we got side-by-side for the lead, Whitworth looking down on Eric Violette.
Classic TCR. Here we go. As Violette Whitworth and
List. List trying to get it back. A little bit of contact between them. List up into second.
The D2D guys doing what D2D guys do.
Yep, and Bobby Childs, he's thankfully is driving in a different class right now, so he doesn't know what his boys are doing right behind him. But I know when he sees his replays, he's always gets a little bit nervous.
They race very clean and very fast to these three cars every single weekend, and it's a challenge. And we were talking at the onset about a guy jumping in here to try and run with these group, and John Allen, and John's already had a couple of issues starting out, He's now
Yeah, sitting
down.
in 6.
Yeah, he's a good, couple about 11, 12 seconds back from this pack. So he's got some work to do to catch back up to these guys.
Yeah, even if you're just now joining in the TCRs, you still have to get up to the level of these DTD guys, and that's something they pride themselves on. Extremely fast, extremely close racing. Not the cleanest paint schemes at the end of the day because some of them are a bit scraped up and stuff, but I gotta say, they love their racing, and their Twitter account's pretty funny too. As Miser Azimi heading down that it's such a beautiful part of the track. I wish they had a updated scan of the track. We have the bridge leading over from the museum into the infield, and it also has the hanging lady right there. Barber, very famous for having this funny statues all over the place. There's the ants with a Coca-Cola bottle running away with it in the first carousel. There used to be a lake where there was a woman with suggestive clothing choice just in the water. There's a giant anaconda just going across the footpaths, which surprised one of the NBC broadcasters when IndyCar was here. There's a few more hidden throughout, but oh yeah, there's lawn gnomes in the forest. It's just a very fun place. Enough for anyone to enjoy a race here. Even if you aren't into racing or cars and you get dragged by your family to watch a race, you got a lot of stuff to just look at.
I'm gonna have to get down there and check this place out for real. It sounds awesome.
Or just look up the statues on Wikipedia because they're great.
It's never the same. You gotta get out there, you gotta see these things. Hey, COVID and all, a lot of these tracks in the summer times are still becoming open because they're good outdoor activities. You wear a mask and you can get in and check these things out.
I remember when they were showing IndyCar and opened up to the European audience for a little bit. I don't know when, that was about 2017. And a lot of my F1 friends were looking at Barber and they saw the lady hanging from the bridge. They thought that was real. And Twitter exploded for a little bit, and they're like, what is this place? It's always funny when somebody who doesn't know Barber Motorsports Park sees that, and it's just a great laugh. Which is exactly the reason why they did it.
All right, well, in the TCR battle, it's still Violet over List and Whitworth. These guys have their spots. Seems like the turn 1 into the 2 carousel seems to be a spot where they tend to make a couple of passes. The rest of the track tends to be a little more follow the leader in this group. They'll probably make fools out of me. This place is just a rolling roller coaster, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's such a fun track and everything. This track is just, it's so fun. It provides very close racing, very hard racing too. Also updated on that woman in the pond. That statue has been removed and it's been moved to Orange Beach. So it's now been replaced by Sasquatch.
Of course. That totally makes a lot more sense now.
There's a great photo of, I believe it's James Hinchcliffe, Ryan Hunter-Reay, fishing right next to that statue.
Next to Sasquatch?
Yep.
Of course. All right, so there's a shot of David Payton. Now right on the back of Greg Mack, trying to get his way around. Finding those BMWs are just a big, giant obstacle to try and fight your way through. Let's see what he can do as he go down the front straightaway here. See if he can get a bit of a draft. Already popped out. Let's see what happens. What we've seen here is if you're on the outside through 1, you've got the advantage through 2, but he's already made the move stick through 1.
Yeah. And here comes Russ Ruddock on Greg Mack trying to hold it around the outside. And heading into one is a very risky move to do that. But, you know, when you're already side by side heading into one, you've got that move made. It's sharp enough to secure the move, but it's not sharp enough to give that fight back if you're stuck on the outside.
Yeah, if you can stay side by side through one, you can get it back going through two. But if you've already lost it, you've got no shot, because the inside driver is going to definitely have you all the way through two. Look at the pressure here. Mike Dam is putting all over the back of Elvis Rankin.
Oh, he's all over him right now.
I almost wonder if he's not going to try and make the pass. He wants to make sure these two build a big enough lead. But I wonder where we're going to be when they start their pit stops.
Oh, Mike Dam, little bit loose. Remember, Mike Dam, he qualified on pole here, and Elvis Rankin just got him off the start. And he made that move work. But what has to happen for Mike Dam? You can never count teammate versus teammate fighting out between these two. I know the Orion team, they like to work together just a little bit, but they currently have a 4-second gap to Tony right behind him. So I feel like the veil of teammate versus teammate, let's take it easy, has kind of passed away right now. We're going to have a very, very intense fight coming up.
I suspect I think what Mike's doing is he's going to just put a little light pressure on. Elvis is good enough. He's not going to make mistakes. But I would be surprised if they pit on the same lap. I would not be surprised to see Mike Dam pit at maybe even earlier and try a little undercut, see how that goes, and see if he can maybe come out a bit earlier. We've seen, though, Elvis got very good pit in and pit out laps. It's going to come down to then how, can he take the right amount of fuel, as we've seen Elvis struggle in a couple of our other races and taking the wrong amounts of fuel and having to go through fuel saving. So he's got to be right on his fuel refill for this one if he wants to hold off Mike Dam and hold that lead, because I think who's got the advantage after the pit sequence is going to be a hard one to pass through the final stage of the race.
Yeah, fuel strategy is definitely going to be big here, and Elvis, I think, is going to be a little bit more conservative on his fuel and all that stuff from now on.
And Mike Dam
it was a very scary. It was very worrying, because we had two cars under fuel themselves, and only last week at Watkins Glen, only one finished. That was Elvis Rankin. He realized that he made a mistake. And here comes Andrew List on Violet. Great opportunity. Violet made a mistake. List looking down the inside here, heading into the carousel. And very, very different lines. List goes down the inside. Violet goes wide, but now Violet's down the inside. List is around the outside. Side by side, they go off the exit as they're now side by side heading down the front straight as we have cars entering pit road. Russ Ruddock and Greg Mack going in there. Now side by side, heading into turn one. Big slide there for Eric Violet.
Shows you the variety of lines you can take through that carousel sequence into turns 14 and 15, into the final turn of the straightaway there. And it almost worked there for Violet. He eventually had to give up the position, and then almost lost a second one there as Whitworth almost got him as well.
Yeah, that slide by Eric Violet was just to defend from Whitworth. You've seen that bite back that you could get, and he definitely needed to secure that inside line from that charging Barry Whitworth. But here comes Whitworth some more. He's looking down the inside on the entry into the chicane. Whitworth very cleanly up into third. I feel like that was more of a communicated pass than a fought-out pass, but
Violet definitely looked like he yielded a bit there.
It's a single line entry corner, but the entry to that corner, very easy to just sneak one past. Speaking of sneaking one past, here's David Payton and Bader. Side by side, Bader on the outside. Payton looking down the inside, side by side they go into turn one. Payton cutting his way into there, and he's trying to hold it around the outside. He's leaving that space, though, so Bader could get him back, but that was very clean by the Canadian.
Very clean. That was great, because for a moment, just for a moment there, you thought maybe Payton hadn't quite made it stick, and Bader had just kept his nose in long enough. And I think that's why Payton did leave him a little bit longer, left the door open, because he didn't want to completely chop him and cause an accident but Bader eventually wasn't quite able to hold it. Then going through 2, Peyton finished the pass and was able to now move the position up, and now he's got Jordy Fike in his sights.
Yeah, and it's about to get wild now because pit stops are happening in our GT4s, and well, it's the strategy is starting to come in here as we're approaching halfway into this race.
It is, and so my curiosity at the front is, does Mike Dam try an undercut and see if he can make this this leap over Elvis Rankin and the teammates? But I'm also curious is when we get to the next pack there between Kernan and Hartley, as they've separated a bit. You know, they had that battle early. Kernan in that Porsche sitting in 3rd right now. Does he try, you know, to just go as long as he can in the position that he's in? And he might be wise to do that. Just run this thing out. Don't get caught in any kind of traffic. But does Hartley try a bit of an early stop and change his strategy a bit, or does he just sort of play it out for the long game and see where this goes? So I'm curious about where they end up. But then the other one's going to be the TCR field. We've seen our DTD guys do a variety of things. We've seen them pit 2 at a time. We've seen them, all 3 of them pit together. So I'm curious tonight if they decide to go onesies or twosies or even all threesies at the same time.
It's the first time I've ever heard onesies, twosies, and threesies ever used in a commentary booth.
You're welcome.
Just went all white chicks up in here.
You know
Great
me.
movie.
You know me and my Wayans quotes. Got to get one in.
Hey, I'm totally for it. I can make all those stupid football analogies and sports analogies, and you bring in the media analogies. And off in front of David Payton and Jordy Fike got off into the grass right there, and over that curb, that's another deep rut spot. And ooh, David Payton went all the way onto the curb.
Peyton is moving pretty good. Peyton is definitely chipping away even without the mistakes. He chipped away about a half a second into Jordy Fike's advantage. A little bit of slip here and a little bit of slip there from Fike, and Peyton is able to continue to chip away. Hopefully before the pit stops, he wants to steal that spot away. This is the battle for 11th. Trying to get into that top 10.
Yeah, and Jordy Fike's been falling to David Payton. He's just been closing in lap by lap by lap. And, well, I think he's going to start having to grow eyes on the back of his head very soon. David Payton, very delayed to get back into the racing line. Might have looked like he was going for that move, which would have been a dive and a half, but a little bit of tire squealing for Jordy Fike. And now Payton is right with him.
Yeah, Peyton's making sure that Jordy's got something in his mirrors at all angles.
And it is, oh no, very bad moment for Payton. Got up onto the curb on the entry of that chicane, got airborne and just set himself wide, and David Payton can breathe a little bit of sigh of relief, just goes, thank goodness that happened, because he was sniffing at him.
He really was. He was ready to pounce, and just that little bit of mistake gave a little bit extra daylight. So Jordy's got an extra half a lap or so before he's going to see him again.
Greg Mack has jumped into the pits after, I think, an incident in the carousel. I saw him just completely jump on the mini-map, so I think he might have hit the wall or had a very race-ending incident, as Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam are still nose-tail with each other. And we saw a safety car get pulled out, Sebring, in round 1. And so I think he did that to avoid a safety car call. But, you know, the possibility for a safety car is possible here if there's a car just completely wrecked on this road.
It is a possibility. There's a very tight and twisty kind of track. There's not a lot of room. There's guardrails right up against the edges. Not a ton of runoff in some of these places, so it is a possibility. We've seen it in a few of the Rick Tech Series rounds. It's there, but tonight, with the way this racing is going, I wouldn't mind not seeing that tonight.
Yeah, good organic racing is always fun, but when you put it in a safety car after a long race, a la Daytona 24 Hours, it can get pretty wild.
Yeah.
Got to say that 24 Hours Daytona race was just fantastic.
That level of that
Throughout the
racing
entire
is,
race. Throughout the entire race, not just the ending.
Yeah, no, it really is. I think getting to be a lot of classes mixing it up in there, but really makes it interesting. And the level of competition, the level of preparation, the number of cars still within classes on the lead laps at the 18, the 20, the 22-hour marks is just fascinating to me, considering where that sport was, 15 years ago. So you'd have laps between first and second place in the 3 or 4 classes. Now you're seeing 4 cars on the lead lap, nose to tail. It's just incredible racing. It's awesome.
And with the announcement of the GTLM class leaving, a few of our favorite GTE cars as Ford and McGrew side by side. Ford went deep. Here comes McGrew off the exit, but Ford's holding that inside line. It's a drag race that BMW is stretching its legs and showing its power. And down the inside, Ford goes, getting a little bit of airtime underneath that BMW to stay in 7th. And to add a little bit to the admin's furiousness, the GTLM class leading the GT, which is taking the GTE cars in iRacing terms and just completely axing them. But there has been talk of the Corvette having a GT3 variant and a few other GTLM cars having a GT3 variant. I know the Ferrari already has one,
like
but
the Ferrari does, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, iRacing, have fun. And McGrew, surprise pit stop back there, right at the 30-minute mark. He knew exactly that he was gaining on Ford. He didn't want to get held up, so into the pits he goes.
That's quality pit strategy right there, is to say, I could stay behind someone who's potentially making mistakes I can't get around, or I just pit now and come out in a different spot in the track and run faster laps. That's a great move there for McGrew.
Yeah, 50-50 strategy. But Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam approaching John Allen. And that stealth black TCR.
This is a moment where I could see Mike Dam doing the same thing, saying maybe it's time now to dive into the pits and try an undercut.
You definitely do not want to be held up by any traffic. As Allen's off in the grass. Mike Dam's off in the grass. Not John Allen. And Elvis Rankin easy down the inside, getting some separation on Mike Dam. That TCR's trying to take Elvis Rankin.
He's just trying not to lose any ground, I guess. He's quicker
said,
in
I'm running my
though.
own race, and the TCRs are quicker around a corner than a GT4. This is true. I remember when the GT4s came around. That is a interesting line from Allen, but when you almost pass the leader again after he lapped you, I feel like some separation might be needed.
John Allen went all John Deere on us there for a second, but he's back on pavement. I don't think he used that one very often.
I gotta say, it's not running that John Deere green, but I gotta say, handles off-road pretty well.
He did all right, yeah. It's front drive. Just keep your foot in it.
Though I prefer my tractor instead. I'm Texan. How can I not?
Everybody in Texas got a tractor. All right, so
especially if I'm rich.
Mike Dam did not pit there. He decided to stick with Elvis and keep trucking along. Our three at the front of TCRs are still doing their nose to tail thing. They have not 3Z'd into their pits yet, or 1Z, 2Z'd yet. Azimi's in for his pit stop, as you mentioned.
Oh my goodness, Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam up. The timing tower just lit up with red between these two. I feel like they both went wide coming out of that chicane. They are pushing these cars hard.
But they're coming up on traffic, which to me, this is the moment. If you start hitting traffic, you may as well pit.
Indeed.
And here they are coming up on the number 10 TCR, Eduardo Cabal, as they start picking their way through TCR traffic. And it's still a couple seconds up the road, they're going to be finding themselves. Got quite a ways away to go, I guess, before they'll catch the front three in the TCRs. There's still about 8 seconds between Cabal and that List Whitworth Violet battle.
Yeah, there is Eduardo Cabal right there, just holding that outside line through Charlotte's Web. Not being a bit of a pain like John Allen was, but I think John Allen was just having a little bit fun with his friends. It's like, I'm not racing with you anymore, but, I'm still gonna give you a little bit of a nudge here because we're still pals. But 33 minutes have passed halfway through here this race at Barber as David Payton is falling down the field a lot. He's not in the pit lane. He's stuck around backwards again. And my goodness, David Payton, I feel like that is a very bad incident for David Payton. We're going to get a replay for you very soon because that was a massive hit.
Take a look at that real quick here coming up. Yeah, that did not look good. And he's got to go all the way around before he can pit as well, because he did that, looks like, on the front straight.
Yeah, that was right after the pit entrance, and that's not good for David Payton, who's struggling to keep control of that car. And it's a running joke here in the production booth. Right as we are about to go into an ad break, something happens. And I'm glad we caught that because we now have that replay queued up, but you know, timing schedules are timing schedules. You're here watching the Sports Car Series presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics here at Barber International Raceway. We'll be right back after the break.
Rick Motec, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rick Motec has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, rickmotec.com. Rick Motec, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, rickmotec.com.
And we're back live here at Barber Motorsports Park. And it's still Elvis Rankin and Mike Dam. And I feel like they're going all the way to lap 31 as they both way off track. Elvis Rankin getting a big snap of oversteer and all that stuff. And well, as the field is still pitting behind them, they're staying out. And they could go out to all the way to lap 31, these two GT4s. So they have enough time to really stretch their legs and get some clean air between them. And, you know, that's a great strategy by them. But yeah, here's that replay by...
I was going to say, we're watching that replay on the screen there of David Payton's spin that started all of this, coming off of the last corner onto the front straight with heavily damaged cars, so he had to at least get around. And as he comes around the turn 2 section through another one of these roller coaster dips and heads his way down towards turn 5, has some more trouble with the car here going into 5, and just struggling with that car all the way around. Unfortunately for him, he did eventually make his way into the pits.
Yeah, he managed to drive his car right to the pits. The second spin happened right after this chicane into the chicane on the back straight, but you can see the front hood on that car is just bouncing around. It's completely out of its pins, and I feel like he's hit the curb here again and went around, and yeah, he's completely jumped that Porsche, and around it goes, and oh man, I feel like this is just a race to forget if you're David Payton.
Yeah, it just kept going from bad to worse there for him, and yeah, I do feel bad because he was really creeping up the tower there pretty well. He kept making up some great passes, making some great moves, and unfortunately there, it looks like his night may have ended Certainly not going to be the finish he was looking for. But one of the guys who had trouble early, Chris Thorman, is continuing to make up spots with a damaged car, no less, as he's now up into that 10th spot. And you can see the damage still on the right front of his car from his incident coming out of that right-hander off that chicane.
Yeah, he has not gone into the pits yet, Chris Thorman, but he is still powering it strong through the field, currently sitting at 10th. And he just passed Raymond Bader right behind him. Bader has not gone into the pits as well, but Steve Daniels has gone into the pits. So we can compare the speeds between these two. But Steve Daniels did not take tires. I can tell you that. Randall McGrew did take tires. No, just fuel. He went very early, so we might see a few of these drivers take some fuel, some tires, but with these leaders, I am not sure. But the TCRs, they've all gone into the pits. They have not gone into the pits, but I believe they will be going into the pits this time by, as it could go about 40 minutes.
Yeah, so they should be going by any minute now, and I'm still curious to see if they do come in together. But it's looking more and more like Rankin and Dam may end up hitting at the same time, which would surprise me a little bit that Mike Dam wouldn't try a little bit of an undercut or something different.
TCRs
as they
into
are.
the pits
Here comes a potential undercut.
at 40 minutes. And also Mike Dam went into the pits with them.
Yes.
So, teammates with different strategies here. Barber is going to bring out a very big question. Can Elvis Rankin hold out that speed out front? Is Mike Dam going to go for tires and use his speed that he got for that undercut? And we saw tires decide the race last time by. Mike Dam is not going with tires. It's just fuel and goal for our pole sitter. We know he's quick around here, but can he outpace Elvis Rankin? And if he does that, is Elvis Rankin going to go for tires? We saw him dabble with the strategy just a little bit. It worked out for him by taking tires last time by at Sebring. Are we going to see that strategy again? And he will be behind Mike Dam if he does take tires, but he will have the speed for the ending part of this race. We're going to find out, but currently it is a battle between Rankin and Dam on who has the speed.
That could be a good move there for Mike Dam, but for a couple of reasons. Because being second for such a long time, he could have been saving a little bit of tires because you don't have to push as much being the trailing car, and he could have saved a little fuel as well sitting behind Elvis Rankin for the entire 40 minutes at the start of this race. We're about to find out is Elvis Rankin now coming in for his stop. We know he's had trouble getting the right amount of fuel in the car in previous races. Now the pressure's on. I'm sure he's thinking about that. Let's see if he takes any tires.
Yeah, pit stops have been his downfall. New leader of the race, Tony Cardon, as he continues on. He's got about 2 laps of fuel in that GT4 still remaining. Elvis is arriving into his box right now. Here comes Mike Dam through the carousel, trying to put all the power down. Elvis is stopped in his box. We're getting a live view, and he goes out. Fuel only between our two leaders. There's Elvis off the race. Off the pit exit right in front of Mike Dam, and Elvis Rankin stays in third, and he went 0.6 faster in the box than Mike Dam. So did he underfuel the car again?
This will be very interesting at the closing laps of this race. How close did he cut it on fuel? Did Mike Dam take too much, or did Elvis not take enough? Because that was to really be 0.6 quicker. Really is quite a bit. That's a pretty tight window there for Elvis. Well done to come out and secure that lead. Not the best timing for if you're Mike Dam. I think you would have liked to try an undercut. Maybe if there was some traffic out there, that might have had a better chance of holding Elvis up. He wasn't lucky in that regards. They each had a clean lap for their out laps and for their in laps. But at this point, now it's just going to come down to mano a mano to see if Mike Dam can make a move on Elvis Rankin here in the next 16 and a half minutes.
Indeed, Tony Cardon goes into the pit lane. Robert Hartley decided to stay out. New leader of the GT4s, it's Robert Hartley. But they were about 5 seconds behind the GT4 dueling. And speaking of dueling, Andrew List and Eric Violet side by side heading into the carousel.
Oh, look at them, just completely side by side around the entire part of the right hand. Now they're going to make the left hand turn onto the front straight.
Contact! List Violet got into the back of List and pushed List wide and into the grass. The DTD drivers, well, getting favors from DTD for almost wrecking each other again.
They are, but without a lot of momentum loss, they just keep on rolling, and the battle rages on.
They love racing with each other, elbows out and everything. And if you've just seen any touring car, any touring car racing, that's kind of what they do anyway.
Absolutely. But right now, Whitworth with the advantage over these two of about 4 seconds. See how long that lasts. Sometimes we'll see that two cars are faster than one, and sometimes two cars are slower than one. If these guys don't battle and they just stay in a line, they might be able to catch Whitworth, especially if Whitworth has to yield to any faster GT4 cars or if he gets caught in any traffic of his own. But if these two want to catch Whitworth, they may want to start working together, but they do not like their working together. They look more like they're going to try and fight for second at this point.
You know, they love fighting, they love battling. DTD does not have a teammate clause, so they're definitely going to fight with each other as the TCR leader of Eduardo Cabal is off the track and has gone into the pit lane. And a messy pit entry.
Ooh.
And ooh.
That's significant damage to that front end on that car.
Yeah, that just shows you on how difficult that pit entry is, and it's a very tight braking corner. So it's very slow out of there, but Whitworth, Violet, and List now go back into first, second, and third.
Yep. Shot here. Looks like Jeff Jacobs got around Jordy Fike.
Yes, he did.
He was behind him about a lap or so ago. Now we'll see as they reverse the roles and see now if the BMW can take the fight back to the Porsche.
Now, Jordy, he did go into the pits. Jeff Jacobs has not gone into the pits yet. And speaking of our drivers who have gone into the pits, Elvis Rakin and Mike Dam, looks like nothing has changed between them. They're still nose to tail with each other. But remember, Elvis Rakin had a shorter pit stop than Mike Dam. The question looms, did he short fuel again? Because 6/10 while you're fueling does have a little bit of a implication on how much fuel did go into your car.
So that's where I love these timed races. The little bit of wild card comes into the time races too. Does the clock strike zero just before you come across a lap, or do you have to take an extra lap? That's that's what's interesting about time races.
If the clock strikes zero and you haven't came across the final corner, it will be the checkers. If it strikes zero and you've already passed it, it'll be checkers the next lap.
Yeah.
Which will be the lap you're on. It doesn't just end the race immediately.
No,
you still have to finish out the lap.
Right. So you're going to get a white flag at some point. But the point is sometimes you might get, they're running right now about a minute and a half. If you come around and there's, a minute and 35 left, you're going to get 2 more laps. So there's only a minute and 25 left. You're only going to get 1 more lap. You're going to get that white flag. And when it comes to fuel loads, that makes a difference in a car like this. So that could mean the difference between not making it. We know from the Miata race last week, that made a difference if you're John Allen. You went from running in the top 3 or 4 to not finishing the race. So
yeah, and Elvis Rankin, he was in that situation as well, as they were running nose to tail with each other, but Allen was just aggressive. He was pushing. Elvis knew that he'd messed up.
But Elvis had to compensate by sitting back, short shifting, drafting, and he was not able to be aggressive. John Allen had no choice, had no draft partner. But the point of that is, if you underfuel, you've got to suddenly drive differently. In the case here, if Elvis Rankin, I'd love to speculate, if he did underfuel, he has no choice because he's the lead car in this. He has to push and push and push for the next 12 minutes and hope that the clock comes, when he comes across for a white flag lap, he's hoping that he gets that when the clock on the 1 hour is striking at about a minute 25 to go, as opposed to coming across to start a lap with a minute 35 and seeing he still has 2 more laps to go. You don't want to have to be coming down with 1 more tick and go, oh, I got to make 1 extra lap, and suddenly it becomes a 40 lap race instead of a 39 lap race.
And these drivers do have live fuel calculators with specialized timing software. Some of them are more accurate than others, SDK. I gotta say a few things. Some of them just get a little bit overestimated. Like, yeah, you're good, but when it comes to a time race, it turns to a little bit of a questionable thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just certainly know that some of them get it right, some of them miss the ball, kind of. But just based on these drivers, they know what timing software that they have because they're both on the same team, they're both using it, and they both have the live fuel being calculated right there. So they both believe that they have enough, but Mike Dan went a little bit extra just to be safe. And if they go that extra lap, they just hit with about 30 seconds to go on that checkered flag, it will just throw this entire race for a loop, especially for Elvis Rankin. You can already just hear him just being a little bit more lenient on that throttle, just lifting off a little bit earlier. That's just allowing Mike Dan to be there. And Mike Dan, he knows he can conservative on that fuel. He can push him 100 and Elvis Rankin spins.
Didn't lose it entirely, but he lost the position.
And he's lost ground. Elvis Rankin got into the grass, and I thought he was going around right there, but
What a save.
that's the curveball that we were not talking about, a mistake.
Yeah, that's the same one that we think David Payton got caught on before that caused him to lose his entire race. Elvis managed to somehow save the car and not get to that pit wall on the inside, but he certainly has lost significant ground, almost 2 seconds of ground lost.
My goodness, that is definitely the one thing that we were not expecting to happen. A mistake by Elvis Rankin, which is extremely rare.
And heads up by Mike Dan for a couple things. One, not running into Elvis, but also heads up to get by cleanly and to know this is your opportunity to pounce.
This has changed everything.
Let's take a
10
look at
minutes
this.
remain. Here's
Take a
the
look at this
replay. Elvis Rankin just a little bit too aggressive right into the grass, and
Nice save.
Hart might have
Beautiful
stopped.
save.
Amazing save. Hart
Yeah.
might have stopped just a little bit there when you see that wall coming towards you, but he corrected it. Might have had a little bit of a pat down, be like, I'm fine.
I
Time to
think if you're
attack.
Mike Dan, I think your heart might have stopped just for a little bit.
And if you're Mike Dan right now, you might be looking in his mirrors, be like, he's back again.
That's what I'm seeing now is he went from 1.3 to 0.3 as Elvis Rankin just cranked it up as we're taking a look still at the battle for second in the TCRs here between Eric Violette and Andrew List, as these guys are just relentless in this battle for the second step on that podium. Still though about 4.5 seconds behind Brandon Whitworth with 9 minutes to go.
9 minutes to go, and the times between Elvis Rankin and Mike Dan is going up and down like a yo-yo right now.
Yeah, that may just be a little bit of a glitch. I can't quite tell. We'll get back to them in a minute because this battle here between these two we know is no sale. You can't put much more than a couple of sheets of paper between them. And these guys want that second spot. But you know it's going to come down to a last lap gas. Someone's going to make a dive to the inside, probably in that turn 5 that they just came through. Very easily could be the deciding factor on that last lap. They're not making up any ground at all, though, on Brandon Whitworth. Brandon has gone from about 3 seconds, now to almost 5.
When you're battling behind, when you're battling side to side, you're going to be slowing each other down. And Brandon Whitworth, he's just driving his own race right now. He's just consistently running 131.9s. Lap 31 was very quick for him. But he's got his own agenda going on right now as Violet and List are just going crazy wall to the wall.
Whitworth's going to watch, though. He is still stretching his track limits, and one of these days he does that too much. He's going to find himself a little bit too much into the grass, as we've seen these guys do already once in this same spot where we just saw Elvis Rankin do it. So if you're Whitworth, you've still got to keep it all 4 on the pavement and get around this track for 7 more minutes.
Surprising about the TCRs, you can go off-roading in these cars because the front-wheel drive system in these cars is so good. You can grip up in the grass and you won't go around because it's the rear-wheel drives that you can't adjust the steering in a rear-wheel drive car unless it's like a buggy or something. But who drives those on iRacing?
But if you do that once and you slide a little bit wrong and you lose a second on that lap, suddenly it gets in your head. You get out of that rhythm a little bit. You get a good pass going to the inside here. Now we're going to be side by side into the chicane.
Violet went
who
wide,
gives it up?
list down the inside.
Who gives it up?
Last of the late breakers. Who's it gonna be? Neither of them. Liz holds around the outside. Violet down to the inside. Side by side through the chicane, and side by side still they go throughout the hairpin. They're bumping and banging side by side, rubbing, racing down here in Alabama. As I got the second chicane, you have to lift off just a little bit here. List down the inside. List up into second, but Violet's bump drafting him down. Violet looking on to the outside. Violet switching over to the inside. Another chicane heading into the roller coaster part of the track. He decides to stay back just right there. But Andrew List, right time and right place to be, not giving it up at all, jumps up into second.
There was no yield by anybody through that whole sequence of turns 7, 8, 9. They were just going to stay side by side all the way through it. It wasn't until they finally got to that second chicane that it was finally said, okay, fine, I'll give you this time. But there's still 5 minutes left in this race before it's all decided. But speaking of decided, not yet. Take a look at the front here as we're back on roles reversed as Rankin now half a second off the bumper of Mike Dam. Rankin has made up that ground that he had lost. He's hungry. Mike Dam is finally saying, okay, I'm tired of looking at the back of Elvis Rankin for 45 minutes. Now it's my turn. But Elvis wants that spot back. Now he's got to try and find a way around, but he's got no data. He doesn't know where he's faster than Mike Dam.
Well, we can actually break down the data right here by sector, but before that mistake happened by Elvis Rankin, they were nose to tail with each other, and I've had a theory that Elvis was lifting off just a little bit and being more conservative with the throttle to keep them nose to tail. But now that he's made that mistake, he's been pushing that car harder and harder to catch up to Mike Dam and depleting his fuel more. So I do have a feeling that Elvis did underfuel that car, and he was fuel saving out front of Mike Dam. So this is definitely playing in the cards for Mike Dam.
Yeah, they're clipping along at a pretty good pace, though. You can see their times there, 29.4, 29.5. Tony Kernan, though, still also putting in those 29.6s. He's running a pretty good clip there right now, sitting in third. But it's this battle at the front now. Under 5 minutes to go. And at a minute and a half, we're looking at somewhere around 3 laps-ish to the end of this race, maybe a 4th lap. We'll see who's got 4 laps of fuel left on board in their BMW.
Under 4 minutes remain here in Barber. And later through the field, we do have a few battles going on. And also a little bit of an incident with Azmi and Daniel. We might get a replay of that very soon. As there's Maziar Azmi up in 8th after making an overtake on Steve Daniel. Jeff Jacobs just holding down that inside line, just right behind Bobby Childs. And Daniels and Azmi have swapped places again.
Jeff Jacobs recovered pretty well. We had seen him earlier at that turn 5, that struggle that he had getting too much curbing, and he was parked there for a while. Now made his way back up here to 11th, but he wants that top 10, and Bobby Childs right now has it.
I know a few Bobby Childs fans want him to get that top 10, but so they're definitely invested in this fight with 3 minutes to go, but Jeff Jacobs is looking like a rocket right now.
Elvis Rankin's last lap, 29.3. Trying to stay with Mike Dam out front, but
4/10 faster than Mike Dam.
As they cross the stripe there with, let's see how many more laps we're going to get. If we should get around 2 more, maybe, following this lap.
Going to be about 2 more laps to go when they come around. We will find out now as Mike Dam getting very luxurious with the track limits on this. Way over the curb. He went a bit, sparks flying out under his car, and Elvis Rankin is right behind him. Both of them are getting all the way up onto these curbs now through that chicane. 3/10 separates them, and now it's like right as nothing has changed between them. It's just swapped places, and now it's all in Mike Dam's hands and Elvis Rankin in case Elvis wants to make that move. And the opportunities are closing in for him. Just about half a second separates them to come across. 1 minute and 30 seconds remain. This is going to be at the line decided. Because the iRacing gets a little bit lenient when it hits 0.
So do we know if we have a white flag?
We'll find out if they stop.
Yeah, this could be last lap. This could be white flag. If they cross,
By like 5 seconds, I believe it will be white flag. But knowing iRacing, you need about 10 seconds to actually make it work. So we might have 2 laps still remaining.
oh, look at this battle though. As Mike Dam just a little late getting on the gas coming out of that hairpin. Elvis Rankin just nowhere to go. Forced to kind of stay and wait for the bigger mistake.
Yeah, Elvis had a great look right there. And he's driving like it's the last lap.
He's trying, but Mike Dam is a little bit tight. You can see it. He's just not able to make the nice clean rounding through the corners, clean apexes, and clean exits. Elvis, being the trailer here, being a little bit more aggressive, he's able to hit his marks off the back of the leading car in front of him. But he's running out of opportunities with just a few corners left of this lap.
10 seconds remain. 2 corners remain. Mike Dam, Elvis Rankin leading out of this race. 3 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, 0 seconds left. Checker flag is in the air, and it's going to be Mike Dam taking the win here at Barber. What a race by both of those drivers. Elvis Rankin, he did everything perfectly, just had that one small mistake, but he was able to catch back up to Mike Dam, which is certainly impressive by them, as we got a battle for 10th right now as our TCR class. Brandon Whitworth coming across the line right now. He's going to take the win in a dominating fashion in the TCRs ahead of his 2 teammates.
Great
Jeff
win
Jacobs.
there for Whitworth. Actually, they were stuck together for such a long time. After the pit sequence, he came out, had that lead, did not relinquish, and managed to take the victory there in TCR with List and Violet coming in second and third.
Yeah, Jeff is getting very feisty right behind Bobby Childs, but I feel like Bobby is just a bit more faster than Jeff. It's just the opportunities for Jeff are just so slim right now. He could send one into the carousel at the last lap. He's looking for it. Bobby was expecting that right there. He just stayed on the inside line and said, nope, wrong move there. And it's going to be nose to tail, but Jeff Jacobs off the exit. This could be a drag race with Bobby Childs saying BMW power out of that corner. He's going to finish in 10th.
Great racing right up to the end there for those guys. Just again, like you said, not quite enough.
Oh, Mike Dam's missed the...
Oh, don't go backwards.
No, he needs to go backwards. He's missed the pre-race. You have to line up on the grid. And this is a new feeling for Mike Dam, as mostly it's Elvis Rankin taking the win. And
they have to ask him about that when he comes in for the interview, both. Ask him about, hey, did you forget you're supposed to go to the start line for your photo opportunity? Or instead of...
I think Elvis reminded him as they're pulling into the pits. He goes, oh, crap. And he's also drove over the finish line right there, so you need to stop reversing or else he could get disqualified. And I've seen that happen, but everyone's came across the line. And these are your finishing results for a great race here. Mike Dam takes the win in our GT4s, followed by Elvis Rankin. Tony Kernan finishing in third, followed by Robert Hartley, Travis Schwenk, Randall McGrew, Kevin Ford, Mizar Asby, Steve Daniels, Bobby Childs, Jeff Jacobs, Jordy Fight, Chris Thorman, Raymond Bader, Russ Ruddick, David Payton, and Greg Mack at the end of our 17-car grid. And over to Larry with our TCRs.
All right, taking the win here tonight, Brandon Whitworth, relatively dominant here in a TCR field by almost 5 seconds there over Andrew List and Eric Violet. Coming in fourth, John Allen. Fifth, Eduardo Cabal. Fifth, Scott Brooks. And in seventh, Chris Zabo.
You're here watching the Rick Motec Sports Car Series presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. We'll be right back for driver interviews after the break.
Rick Motec, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, rickmotec.com. Rickmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rickmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, rickmotech.com.
And welcome back to the Rickmotech Sports Car Series. We are standing by with our GT4 winner, Mike Dam, who I gotta say he did a very great job and was just in the right place at the right time to get that lead. And well, Mike, how was that race for you?
Hey guys. Yeah, that was an intense one. This track leaves absolutely no room to breathe. So, the way me and Elvis were battling out there, that was just there's no brakes, man.
And no brakes at all. But when that mistake happened for Elvis, you shot back into the lead and taking the win here. And you haven't had. Have you? It's a very relaxing moment to get a win back here, but did you forget you're supposed to line up on the front straight? We saw you panic during the pit stop entry.
No, you weren't supposed to see that. No.
We have eyes everywhere, man.
Actually, it was Elvis. He reminded me. He's like, "You gotta line up, man." But yeah, no, it was Elvis passed me on turn one, obviously, but I knew I had a quick car. I mean, Elvis was also very quick. There's no down playing that. I tried my best during the race. I just tried to hound him, but I mean, it was really, really, really tough to get a look here into any corner. So I felt like my only play was to put the pressure. I hope he made a mistake, and that's eventually what happened. Luckily, Elvis doesn't. He doesn't normally make mistakes like that, so that's a rare.
We saw you attempt the undercut by pitting early. Were you expecting Elvis to go a little bit longer than you, or were you trying to apply some pressure by having a earlier pit stop and trying to sneak away with that one?
Honestly, my plan was to. I was hoping the TCRs in front of me weren't going to pit, and then he would have been left to get around them, and that might have been enough for me to get by. But they pit right in front of me, so it's like, well, what do you do?
Well, it all worked out for you in the end. You came home in the win here at Barber. So before we let you go to celebrate tonight, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, just all my teammates at Orion. Elvis was really fast tonight, so props to him. Like, that was really, really tough. To Kevin and Jeff, the admins, Frank, Rico at Rickmotech for sponsoring, and to you guys for putting this on. Thanks a lot.
And thank you for putting on a great show with Elvis out there. Congrats on the win, man. And Larry is standing by with Brandon Whitworth.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so I think we've got joining us. We've got our winner from the TCR field tonight, Brandon Whitworth. Brandon, interesting race tonight. You and the teammates there had a heck of a battle going on up until the break for the pits, and then you've come out with a pretty substantial lead, able to hang on there. Walk me through a little bit of that break for the pits and how you're able to stretch that gap.
Well, Andrew made it kind of easy. He overshot his pit stall a little bit and had to back up, so that was pretty much the end of that.
that always helps when the other guy kind of screws things up a little bit. But it's in this kind of a track, it's not always easy to maintain that lead. And we've seen it before when somebody gets a lead in one of these Audis, and suddenly the rest of the field still comes up and manages to close up. But you managed to, for about the last 20 minutes or so, still hold on to it, and even with a little bit of traffic there, maintain that lead. Is this kind of track really conducive to holding a lead in that kind of a car? Is this a good car track combination for you?
It's a good track for me because this is my home track. So
that always helps.
I spend a lot of time on this track, and I don't know. These cars are interesting, as you pointed out. sometimes you see somebody get in a lead and everybody catches up to them, because you really have to take care of the tires in this thing. And you chew the front tires up pretty quick, and then you're going to slow or lose a lot of time quite a bit. So that's kind of the trick, is just not to drive it too hard, but just hard enough.
Right. So do you find yourself watching that relative screen a lot to kind of just manage that gap?
Yeah, keep an eye on it. If they start getting close, I have to pick up pace a little bit, and then back off a little bit, because I don't want to use up the car.
Yeah, well, that's how you win races. You got to manage the race all the way to the finish. You did a really good job of that tonight to come away with that victory here at Barber Motorsport Park. Congratulations on that. Anybody you would like to thank?
I'm going to thank Rick Motec for putting on the series, Proformer Elite Texas Graphics for sponsoring the car, and all my teammates for, we all work together pretty hard to be as fast as we are. So, it's good to have guys you can work with like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are a fun team to watch, and it's great to see even a few more names coming into that at TCR Field. Great to see it grow. Looking forward to some more folks coming out here in the next round in a couple of weeks. Congratulations on the win tonight.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brandon.
And standing by with me right now is somebody who is in the lead longer than anybody else on track. It was Elvis Rankin, but it came down to a particular moment with 10 minutes to go. A unfortunate mistake, but a heck of a save and drive back, and it looked like he was about to take the lead back. Elvis, how was that race? And you want to talk about that?
Pretty exciting. It's obviously, it didn't look like a lot. We were just running nose to tail for most of the race, but inside the car, I think me and Mike both, this is one of those tracks where you need like full concentration at every corner, because definitely one of those tech fun tracks. And yeah, I had fun with it tonight, and it was definitely a good race from my POV.
It definitely was a fun race. We saw you go into the pits a little bit after Mike Dam, and your pit stall time was 0.6 faster than Mike. Were you trying to go a little bit lenient on the fuel again?
I was definitely not trying to pull the take like liters less like I did last week in the but no, I knew he was a tad faster than me on the. I knew as soon as he was going to pit, I was going to pit a lap later. I was just going to not let him get clean air, not let him get open, get out front, and tried to do that. And I knew exactly about as much fuel as I needed to take. Took the right amount, just a little mistake right at the end, I think. And his tires just dropped, falling like rocks. I mean, how much?
Well, after that, you had a great race. Regards of what happened, you led more laps than anybody else out there in either class, and you provided us a great show with Mike. And turn one, you just had that all lined up for you, and well, you got it from there. And it was looking like it was going to be a well, it was a 1-2 for you. It was just in the order, and we heard you had to give Mike a little bit of pointers on your finishing procedures.
I had to show him how to make a big save and how to put some style in the finish.
Well, Elvis, it's always a pleasure talking to you after a race. Before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank our Ryan race team and Mike Dam for running me clean all night. He's one heck of a beast, that's for sure. He's definitely, you slack off 1 to 2 weeks like we have after the Daytona 24, and he's right there, and he was always really fast. And congrats to him tonight. He ran flawless race and put the pressure on when he needed to, and forced me into the mistake, which is, I think, as he said, very hard to do. But yeah, I want to thank our team sponsors, Joel Real Timing, and Joel and HPP Simulations, Mark. Those guys sponsor our team. They help us out. And the Ryan race team for giving me the opportunity to be on their team again. I can't thank those guys enough. Frosty St. Clair for believing in me and believing in Mike and all these guys that we've been able to. I think we've been able to fulfill those achievements that we've put on ourselves, and very happy tonight for sure. I want to also thank my mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa for just supporting me with whatever I want to do. Thank Extreme 99, the admins, Kevin, Jeff, Ryan. Those guys put this whole deal on. Thank you to those guys. And I want to thank Apex Racing TV for broadcasting the whole thing.
And we want to thank you for getting out there and giving us all a great show. We got one interview to go. So, Ellis, you have yourself a good night. And Larry is standing by with Andrew List.
Hey, Andrew, how are you? And congratulations on the finish here tonight. Talk me a little bit through the pits, I guess, because the pit seems to have decided the outcome there in the TCR field. Walk me through a little bit about how yours went and decided that outcome.
Yeah. The first 2 laps for me were pretty wild. I went off on the last turn, and then in the corkscrew on the second lap, I almost took out my entire team. So it was good that everybody got away with that. But yeah, by that time I was pushing my tires pretty hard to catch back up to Eric and Brandon, and made it back up to first. And yeah, I went in for the pit stops, and everything looked good, and pulled too far forward in my pits and had to select reverse, and lost some time, came out behind Eric, and me and Eric were battling pretty hard there in the end, some side by side, and some door dings and whatnot. But yeah, I got to give it up to Brandon. I mean, he ran a very consistent race and a very, very methodical race. And with Eric and Brandon, I mean, that's what you got to be spot on 100% every single time you race with these guys, because if you make one little mistake, they're just gonna pull away from you. So.
Yeah, and I can definitely tell Brandon really was able to drive mistake through the end of that race, while you and Eric were kind of battling it out there. Did you and Eric at all think for a minute, well, if you guys work together, maybe you could catch up to Brandon?
I think Brandon's pace was a little bit too fast for Eric. I know he was I was behind him for a little bit, and we were losing about a tenth or two every lap or so. So I kind of needed to get by him to try to push that extra tenth or two advantage on Brandon. But Eric at the very end, the last 4 laps, right after I passed him, I could tell that he was sticking with me a little bit better. So his setup was a little bit more longevity, and mine was a little bit more attack. And I needed to use the tires while I had them, and so that was my mindset on the entire situation. But yeah, Brandon was just he was just too darn quick. So
yeah, he says it's his home track, and sometimes you just got to give it up to him. And this was his night for sure. But still able to bring it home in second for the class. It's a great finish, collecting some good points there. Good finish for you. Anybody you want to thank tonight?
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the league, obviously, and Rick Motec and Texas Performance Graphics, and Nick's Dog Treats also, and give a shout out to our team. Everybody on it works really hard, and I think it proves with our dominance in the TCR. So wanted to give a shout out to those guys, and yeah, you guys for putting on a great broadcast every weekend. So thank you.
Thank you, and looking forward to seeing you in the next round.
Thanks, guys.
So, Austin, I just want to point out a couple of things. We've had a couple of rounds the last 3 weeks, and we had our Daytona race where we had our new World Challenge Series, the overall won by Arthur Chan, a Canadian. We had our race with the Miatas at Watkins Glen last week, won by Mike Dam, a Canadian. And tonight, the overall won by Mike Dam, a Canadian. I'm just saying there's a trend here. Let's see if this continues. The Americans have got their work to do.
Well, funny you say that. In the upcoming rounds, the next round of the sports car series is actually at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Amazing how that works out.
That is a big trend. But speaking of the other series, we do have more rounds of Rick Motec racing coming up next week at VIR. The Rick Motec World Challenge makes its return for round number 2 at VIR, and I gotta say, it is the Nürburgring of America, and it's gonna be a fantastic race. Very tight track, so multi-class racing there is gonna be a show, but not to be outdone, Mid-Ohio is being favored by our Classic Sprint Series. The MX-5's going over to a track that is held deeply in my heart, and it's a Barber of the North, I must say, so they're going to have a very tight race as well. And as I mentioned earlier, the Sports Car Series is going to be at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We're going to find out if the Canadians have it in there some more, but I gotta say, I'm very excited for these upcoming races here in the Ricmotech series presented by Proforma Elite Texas Graphics. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today on the Sports Car Series. I've been joined by Larry McLeod with Alex Simpson in the production booth and Dennis Branch as well. And I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.